Hello. Welcome to Dan Explains It All, the show where I talk about things I think I understand in hopes that you might sort of get them too. Today we're going to talk about expression, specifically the Old Blood Noise Endeavor's expression slider. Now, the idea of this is basically giving you access to a control from a different spot. You could put the expression slider on the desk in your studio, on your guitar strap, plug it into the pedal, and be able to control a parameter from a totally different location than the pedal itself. And we designed the expression slider specifically to work with old blood pedals. And something we're learning as more of these are going out in the world is that a lot of different companies do a lot of different methods for expression control. So today I'm going to explain how we do it and how that'll work in some setups and maybe not work so well in other setups. That's the fun part. So let's get into the Old Blood expression setup. Our expression jack is what's called a stereo jack. It has 3 connections: tip, ring, and sleeve. So you can see this cable also has 3 connection points. That's the tip there, that's the ring, that's the sleeve. And when I plug it in, you'll see these 3 spots on the jack lift up. Basically what that's doing is, if you look at it from below here, you'll see there's actually 6 places where the jack connects to the board. Basically here's the tip, ring, and sleeve, and then here is where we would connect to the pot. So when there's no cable plugged in, those 3 pieces connect and you transfer control over to the pot that's in the pedal. Plug in an expression cable, break that connection, now it's going through the cable to whatever's on the other end. So let's look at what's on the other end. Here's the other end of our TRS cable. So when we plug in the other end of that TRS cable to the expression slider, we're making 3 new connections. Let's call the 3 points on the slider the center, and that's where the actual slider is. High, which we'll kind of consider the top of it, and low, which we'll consider the bottom of it. Basically, the tip connects to the center, the ring connects to the high point, and the sleeve connects to the low point. And everything around this slider is what's called a resistive track. So you don't really need to know what resistors are. You've probably heard of resistors if you've looked into kind of the basic components, building blocks of pedals. But essentially, think of this as there's a resistor on each side from center to high and from center to low. And as you move the center around, those resistors change value. And they're always going to change. This is a 100K slider, so they're always going to total up to 100 kilo ohms of resistance. It's just that one will be larger or the other will be larger as you're moving around. Okay, so now we've connected the center, high, and low parts of our expression slider to a TRS jack, TRS cable. Running to the other side of that cable, we're hitting another jack here. So now the very last piece is to actually put that jack on a circuit board. So I'm going to plug into our flat light over here. Basically what's happened now is the tip, ring, and sleeve of our stereo jack have connected to voltages. So the sleeve is connected to ground, or we'll just call it 0 volts, and then the ring is connected to 3.3 volts, and the middle is where the magic happens. Middle becomes a division between the high and the low voltage. So at its maximum, it can hit that 3.3 voltage. At its minimum, it can hit 0 volts, and it can go anywhere in between. And then that center point hits the spin FU1, the magic digital chip that makes all the sounds of the flat light possible. And that chip sees the voltage, and it basically changes some settings based on what voltage it sees. So that setup is called a voltage divider. And essentially, as you slide up closer to the 3.3 volts, in this setting, we're maxing out the resonance. And as we slide down towards 0, we hit minimum resonance. And right in the middle, a nice resonant flanger that's not totally out of control, sitting at, I don't know, let's say 2 volts, something like that. So there are a lot of situations where the expression slider will work great for you, but there are also some situations where it might only kind of work or it might not work at all. One of the common examples is line 6. So when line 6 has an expression out on one of their pedals, they have it set up with just a TS connector, just the tip and sleeve, mono jack. And your first instinct is probably going to be, great, I have a bunch of TS cables around. These are the type of cables that you use, you plug into your guitar and your amp and patch your pedals together with. So your first instinct is, cool, I'll just plug that in. Basically what happens there when you plug in is now the tip is going to be connected to the tip, but the ring and sleeve are going to become connected to each other. So if you try to then plug that into a line 6 expression jack, what you get is all the way at the top, 0, all the way at the bottom, 0, and all the way in the middle, about a quarter of the amount. It's 25K on this 100K slider. Essentially, the resistances get all wonky because now the ring and sleeve are connected when they're not supposed to be. But what you can do is take a TRS breakout cable. So this has the tip ring sleeve connector on one side, and then 2 different TS connections. One of them is going to be connected to the tip and sleeve. The other one is connected to the ring and sleeve. So I'm going to plug this into the expression slider. All of our connections are still intact. Now I'm going to take our TS connection, and you might not see this perfectly, but basically we are connecting it to the tip connector here. And we're just going to let that sit. Okay, cool, we're good. Now let's plug it into the DL4 and see what happens. Okay, so I've just done some configuration on the DL4 to get it to, using an expression control, move from minimum time to maximum time. So I've got the slider set to minimum right now, so there's basically no delay. Then we're going to move it up, and you'll hear the delay pretty quickly move to its maximum setting. So you'll notice that it got there at about 25% of the sweep. This is the problem that we can't quite overcome with a pedal like the DL4. Basically what it's looking for is a 10K potentiometer. It doesn't care about the voltage, it's not doing the voltage divider thing. All it's really interested in is the resistance between 2 points instead of those 3 points that we've been talking about. So it's looking for, I think it's a 10K pot, and what we have here is a 100K slider. So once we get past a certain point, it doesn't really register a difference, it just stays at the maximum. And I think on like the Helix units and some other more modern Line 6 stuff, you can actually calibrate it so that it works, but to be perfectly honest, we don't have one of those around here, so I can't test it to be sure. So let us know if you've done it before. But that's kind of the secret to doing a TS expression using our TRS expression slider. Just get one of these little breakout cables, connect it to the tip side, and you can at least get some functionality of it. We can still sweep that delay time. And have some fun with it. So that's it. I mean, that's, I think, everything I know and hopefully everything you need to know about the Old Blood Noise Endeavor's expression slider. If you go to the product page, we're going to try to keep a list there of brands that we know it works with and brands that we know it doesn't work with or needs additional equipment in order to work with. But if you are still curious at this point whether it's going to work with your setup, you can leave a comment here or get in touch with us, contact@oldbloodnoise.com. Just remember, it is a TRS 100K voltage divider setup where the tip is connected to what we've been calling the center. The technical term is the wiper. Now you know that part too. That's it.